Attention SMP artists, are you looking to take your business to the next level? It's time to fully systemize your studio for growth with the ultimate sales and marketing platform for SMP artists, HighLead. With HighLead, you get everything that you need to save time and effortlessly generate more consultations and bookings on autopilot. And guess what? HighLead is not just a system, but also one of the largest Google ad agencies in the world for SMP professionals. Imagine having a marketing strategy that's tailor-made for the SMP industry, driving high-quality leads right to your studio. Say goodbye to the struggle of finding the latest marketing trend. HighLead has you covered. Invested into your training? Check. Invested into your equipment and studio setup? Check. Now it's time to invest into your marketing strategy. Don't risk your marketing budget on anything else until you've experienced HighLead's growth system and Google Ads services. Visit GoHighLead.com today to book a free demo now and join the hundreds of SMP artists who've embraced HighLead to thrive in their businesses. On the free no-obligation demo call, a member of HighLead's team will answer all of your questions and help you unlock the potential of your SMP studio by getting you more bookings. Visit GoHighLead.com today.
Ever wonder what keeps me focused and energized during long SMP sessions and Scalp Solutions Podcast? It's Wava Water. Wava isn't just water. It's a whole new experience. It combines lightly caffeinated, sparkling water with binaural beats of sound frequencies and music. Together, they help boost creativity, productivity, and focus. And here's the best part. It's as refreshing as it is delicious. So, whether you're creating that perfect hairline for a client or tuning in to elevate your SMP game with the Scalp Solutions Podcast, Wava Water keeps you refreshed and ready to perform at your best. Because great work starts with great tools and great hydration. Wava Water. Refresh your focus, boost your confidence. Find out more at wavawater.com.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Scalp Solutions Podcast. I'm your host, David Santiago, and today we're diving into an essential topic that often doesn't get enough attention in the SMP industry, and that is color theory. Now, I usually keep it SMP specific here on the podcast, but today we're switching it up for a very important reason. Joining me is someone who has mastered the art of color theory through her extensive career in the beauty industry. I'm excited to welcome Hazia Payman, a highly skilled permanent makeup artist with over 19 years of experience and more than 50,000 procedures under her belt. I say that again, over 50,000 procedures under her belt. Hazia's expertise goes far beyond PMU. She is a true educator, inspiring clients and students alike with her unmatched knowledge of aesthetics and her ability to bring out the best in others. Today, we're fortunate to have her share her insights on color theory, which is a subject that's super critical, not only for PMU artists, but also for us here in the SMP industry. Hazia, thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy day and jumping on the podcast with us here. I'm super thrilled to have you here to help shed some light on how we can elevate our work by better understanding the nuances of color.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much, David, for having me. I am so happy to be here today. I feel extra special because I'm the first that is not a typical SMP artist, if I can say. But trust me, guys, you guys will learn so much today.
That's right. That is right. And you said, and it's funny because it's not a typical SMP artist. You are a PMU artist, but I have reached out to you for advice, especially when it comes to something like color theory. And we have had episodes where, we bring on the specialists in our, specific industry for it. But I felt it was much more important to have someone coming from the PMU industry because you guys have been discussing this topic and involved with theory at a whole other capacity for far much longer than what the SMP industry has existed. And that being said, I want to dive right into it. And can you just share with us your journey in PMU, especially your expertise in color theory?
Yes, so my story goes a long way. So before being a PMU artist or educator, I started as a makeup artist, which helped me so much in what I do today. So if you guys are not familiar with makeup, all we do is play with colors, play with different shades and the blending parts. Everything has to look and seem perfect. With time I realized that I wanted something more permanent. I love the way my clients look. They were super happy, but they knew once they go back home, they wash that face, bam, it's done. It's back to reality. Cinderella's back. Oh no, all that work for nothing. So, with time, I was like, you know what? I feel like the most challenging part for me is the brows, because every time I would do the brows, it was what was changing the entire look, because it literally frames the entire face, right? So I decided to get my hands or my feet, my foot, how do you say that, into the PMU.
There you go.
Okay, sorry guys,
Hands,
I'm French.
whatever you want.
I'm
Elbow.
Canadian, so my first language is French. My English is my second language, so bear with me. Um, so I started as a PME industry, which was already so much easier for me because everything that was about color theory, I already pretty much knew it, because that's the only thing we have to master as makeup artists at first. So starting with that, when I started, the industry was not very big like it is today. So when I started almost 12 years ago, 11, 12 years ago in the PMU industry, I remember I was practicing on pig skin just to make sure I have the perfect, the perfect technique, colors. And back in the days when I had my own training, the lady just gave me two pigments. And brows have so many different shades. And I remember she gave me a red, like a tiny little bottle like this, and a brown that was almost done. It was a used brown color. I was like, what am I supposed to do with that? Anyways, long story short, for a full year, I practiced. I pretty much had to learn everything on my own, because there was nothing really out there for like perfect trainings or like color theory. I was already good with that, but meaning like the techniques and stuff like that. So practice error on my family. Thank God I have a big family, a lot of friends that trusted me, and I finally mastered color, technique, the right tools, the right everything to master perfect, undetectable brows. So today, almost 2025, that's pretty much all I do. I stopped everything. I used to be an esthetician, hairdresser, I used to be a makeup artist, and then brow artist, and even a permanent makeup artist. I used to do liners, lips. I stopped everything to really, really, really focus into brows only. So the importance of knowing your colors is so important. Knowing the technique is one thing. Knowing the procedure, being sure that you do the right thing is another thing. But knowing the shades, the colors that you're going to choose for your clients, and that comes for SMP and brows as well, is crucial, because you might do a beautiful work. The whole thing looks wow. But then when it heals, you're like, oh my God, what did I do? It's like you literally see the difference between what you did here and what he naturally has or she naturally has. So color theory, unfortunately and fortunately, is crucial for what we do.
Can you explain exactly, like, I understand you gave a small example, but why is it so essential to understanding color theory both in PMU and in SMP, just aside from the potential of, giving the client the wrong, the color combination?
What do you mean? Because other than you don't want that to look ugly with time and you want to make sure the client leaves happy.
That's good. You know what? You answered that before I even got that question, and I'm leaving this here. So, oh, this is great. Okay, let me retract, right? What is it? What are some common? So you explained why color theory is so critical for us to understand in the SMP industry and the PMU industry. So what are some of the misconceptions about color theory that you've encountered in the SMP industry? Because I know you're from the outside looking in, and that's how this relationship and this conversation between me and you even started. What is it that you're seeing that some of the artists, some of the misconceptions that they're understanding in regards to color theory?
Honestly, first of all, how we basically connected. I remember you reached out to me and you asked me like, well, before that we were talking, but I mean, you asked me a question like, Hazia, what do you think about this? If I mix that color with that color, do you even think I can mix PMU, products mixed with my SMP products? First of all, if you look behind every bottle or products, there's different ingredients, right? So each ingredient is for that specific product. If you mix and match two different products, you don't know what that's going to do in long term, first of all. Second of all, if you're not mastering perfectly your color theory and in your head, because you heard that, oh, use any black pigment from SMP, mix it with 1 or 2 drops of orange of any brand, and you're gonna have the perfect brown. No, there is so many different shades of brown. There is so many different products out there, so many different brands out there. I think the importance for SMP artists to know and understand, first of all, is the product you use. You have to make sure the product itself has been tested out there. You've seen results on different Fitzpatrick, on different skin tones, on different results. And you want to make sure that, let's say, for example, if you buy a SMP product that says black, SMP product that says brown, and then some of them have neutralizers. You have to make sure that the shade or the undertone makes sense, because we have different undertones in every brand. So let me give you an example. It's not because it says brown that is brown. Or yeah, brown says it's brown. But then how I like to test my products, I usually take a blank sheet, and you guys should test it out also. And I invite you to do it. This is not a secret. This is something you guys all have to do to make sure you have the right product, and you want to make sure that the product you have under your hands is gonna, it's gonna heal perfectly on your clients. So you take a sheet or Kleenex or any, like a blank sheet, put a drop of your product, either the black, the brown, or the neutralizer. Put some drop of water on it and see how it spreads. Whatever color you see around that specific product is going to give you the shade or the undertone that you will eventually see on the procedure once it heals. If you see that the undertone is reddish, this is a sign that you might see the product or the results with time is not going to be what you were expecting. Or even worse, if you see it turns greenish if you use the black, or bluish, then again, it's a red flag. But then some of you guys are probably going to question yourself, yeah, but what do I do? How can I correct that? What do I have to do for that to not give me any bad, results with time? First of all, make sure you pick and choose the right product, because usually if you have the right product in your hands, you're not supposed to question yourself. Is that tone going to be good? Is that they're supposed to do that for you. You as an artist, all you have to focus is, let me work on my client, because the product I have, it explains itself very well that I'm supposed to do this, and I don't need to worry about anything else. Then do my job. Let them worry about their products first, and then you do your job. So that's if you have, let's say, 5 different brands in your hands and you're not sure which one you should continue using or which one you should maybe stop using, that's how you have to test it out. Test it, see how it spreads with water, and then you're going to see for yourself. There's no secret. It's blank. It's color on white,
So if I'm understanding this correctly, what you're saying is I'm going to take the pigment and I'm going to put a little bit of water with it as well, not too much, right? Where you diluted.
Just a tiny little drop.
Okay, so one drop. So let's just say a drop of pigment and a drop of water, right?
Yes, or even easier, put a drop of your pigment, one drop. Take a Q-tip, put some water, and then just drag it. Do a little zigzag downwards. And the lower you go, the more you see the undertones creating itself on the white sheet. So you see it, and let it dry first, obviously, to really judge. And you see exactly what undertone that shade or that pigment has.
Got
The
you.
best way to do.
And that's what I was going to ask. Are we waiting for it to dry, or are we looking at it as it's wet? Like, what are we using as the official guideline? We want this to dry, right? And then we're paying attention to, I guess, the kind of like that outer glow, kind of like that's the hue. And if those are the colors that are going to let us know whether we're using a good ink.
100%. 100%. 100%. So basically what you do is once you put that little drop of your pigment, don't wait it dries right away. Have your Q-tip ready with water. It has to be damped. Drag it down. It doesn't need to be perfect. The goal here is to see how it kind of blends to the sheet with water, or you can just do lines or zigzags. You just want to see like the end color is going to give you the answer. What color it's going to be after it dries. Usually it takes like a few couple of minutes. And then once it dries, do that with all your pigments, write them down. So let's say, I don't know, A for whatever pigment you're using, B for whatever pigment you're using, do them next to each other's. And then once you see the color that it dries to, that's exactly how you want to judge a good pigment. Because let's not lie to each other's. There's so many people that comes with a brand and have no clue whatsoever about colors, but they have their own pigment lines. So that's how you have to test it out. We're here to help you guys.
So this is essentially testing out the quality of a pigment to make sure that the undertones that it has is going to match, the
100%.
job that you want. All right. So now your first example was testing it out on a white piece of paper. My question, and I'm pretty sure anyone who's listening or watching this right now is probably thinking, can you do this on an actual client because the example you gave, and I'm also speaking from the student's perspective as well, right? I'm asking this question, I'm sorry, is your first explanation was just to initially establish the kind of pigment you have and whether it's quality or as it's being promoted. But now...
Yeah, that's your homework.
Got you. So now I have a client in front of me and I'm trying to figure out the dilution because I've already established, hey, this pigment that I'm using is good, whatever. It doesn't have cool undertones. It's got warm undertones, just what I need. Now I have a client in front of me, whatever, let's just say a Fitzpatrick 2 or 3, and I'm trying to establish if I have the correct dilution. Can I do that exact same technique that you just said? Obviously not on paper because it's different, but could I do that on the area where I'm going to be working on the scalp? Like, would I still see those, like that aura, that hue you said, that
Yes.
Okay.
So that's a very good question. And that's even after so many years of experience, I sometimes still do it, not because I doubt on the pigment that I choose or the color that I choose, but also to reassure your client sometimes. People are very visual. People love to be reinsured. We're talking here about people that do a whole procedure to change. We change people's life, right? So you want to make sure you don't just do the right job, but you want to make sure you have the right products as well. So once, like he said, like David, you just said, you have the right products, you eliminated, that's how you say it, yeah?
Eliminate, destroy, whatever you want.
Destroy,
You can
kill,
get angry with it.
bomb the wrong ones, throw it away. You keep the good ones. So what I love to do, forehead, not on this call, because not everybody is fully shaved or fully bald. Some people, even if you shave to 0, you still have a little bit of hair here and there. And if you want to test that out, it's going to be super hard because by the time you swipe it on the scalp, then all those little hair is going to kind of prevent you to see the perfect shade. So the best way to do it is on the forehead. You don't need to drag. You just, once you think you have the perfect shade, you just swipe. One little swipe on the forehead, let it dry, few little seconds, and then just try to match and see, okay, I'm good. This is the first step. Step number 2. If you're not doing that already, I don't know what you're doing, but when you start an SMP procedure, you always have to start with the back, right? So, even if you think you're the king or the queen of SMP, we're humans. We're not robots. So, mistakes can happen. So when you start with the back and you start your few first little dots, let's say your first little pattern, you want to swipe. You want to make sure once you do that little swipe first, you clean, and you want to make sure, first of all, if the color you chose is good, if your retention is good. And here I'm talking about something I'm not supposed to talk, but if your retention is good, and if everything makes sense, if you're happy with what you see, continue. If you're not happy with what you see in the first few seconds of dots you created, then,
Go back.
change your color or do whatever you need to do for you to, correct yourself. Yeah.
So I know off top that I'm pretty sure, I'm going to say at least 90 to 95% of SMP artists, myself included, I look at the client, but I also now have established that the pigment that I'm using is good pigment. Not like what you said, right? For me, it was just trial and error. Okay, this is my 10th, 15th client using it. It looks good. It doesn't have the cornerstone XYZ.
Yeah.
Now, when I always start my sessions, I look at the client and I tell myself, okay, I'm probably going to do a 18-to-1. I use a 1-to-1 dilution ratio, right? One part pigment, one part diluting. So I tell her, I look at the client, and I go, all right, I'm going to be doing a 18-to-1. I go now and I do a couple of impressions on the back of the head. That part I do, but I have never, until I spoke with you, thought of, swiping it with swiping it on their forehead or on their head alone. So like, let's just say they don't do that. Is that necessarily like a bad thing to do, to just start working on the back of the head to figure out if the dilution ratio is good, and then say, all right, I did 10 impressions, I wiped off, it doesn't look balanced, let me go back to the drawing board and create another a dilution that's gonna match more?
So that's a very good question. There's a lot of, if you're somebody that loves to skip some steps in order to achieve something, eventually you will get there, but you're going to fall down, right? You're going to make some mistakes, and mistakes is human. But if you want to make a little bit more, you want to be more sure and prevent that fall down, we can say, that's the best way to do. That's like you're making sure to not create those mistakes, because first of all, back home or back your office, without the clients being around you, you tested your products at first. You don't just take that bottle because it's known and people say it's good. You're going to work on your clients because you heard it's good. No, guys, we're humans. We're living in a marketing world. People love to promote their brand, promote their products, but it doesn't mean that the product is extremely expensive or the most out there because their marketing skill is A1, that it's the best product. So make your own research, be curious, you have a brain. So test the product first on the sheet, step number 1. Step number 2, skin. Step number 3, work on the client. Step number 4, correct yourself while you work. But if you jump all those steps and you work on the client right away, yes, it could be doable, but then you might maybe test it 4 times, 3 times until you figure out the perfect shade, and then you're like, oh, I got it. But how much time did you waste? First, time is everything. We all know that a full procedure takes between 2 to 5 to 6 hours, right? So you do not want to waste more time. So by doing that, you reassure your client first, and you're making sure you're doing the right thing also.
And now this goes for as well if you're using brown pigment as well too, right? This is not just exclusive to the carbon black.
No, same thing for brown. And the brown is even more important because black is something we see a lot out there. The black pigment, a lot of different SMP brands, they have their black pigments.
Right.
Brown is something they recently started.
Right.
And neutralizer, they recently started, right? So because it's still the first products kind of out there, you want to make extra sure you test them out first. So there's brown. Let me give you an example. Your brows are brown. It's considered brown. My brows are considered brown too. But if we would be next to each other, it's completely two different browns. My brown is more towards ashy tones, which probably most of you right now are like, what is she saying? What did she say? She lost me.
What about my
Your brown is more neutral. You have a neutral perfect brown, okay? So if I would get a pigment that says brown and I use the same for you, same for me, what am I doing? We don't even have the same initial brows to begin with. Same thing for scalp. So your brown, your neutralizer, your black, whatever is out the market right now, test them out.
I want to ask you a quick question. Well, not a question, but I want to bring something up that I didn't know until we spoke right offline, and it's with brown. And black is just black. I completely forgot, and I should have remembered this. Being by trade, growing up, I wanted to be a cartoonist, so I took all these art classes and color theory classes. Just for me, when I came in, I was told, that you can't apply that here. This is the beauty world. So I was kind of like, that doesn't make any sense. But okay, this person knows best. I don't. But brown is not just brown. Brown pigment is made up of several colors. So when you said, brown is even more important, is that one of the contributing factors? Because it's not just brown. I believe it's yellow, red, and black, correct? Or it depends on the manufacturer that it
so much more. Yes. And some of the manufacturers might put a bit more of the red racial more than the, let's say, the black or whatever, vice versa. You can see some browns that you look at them and they look like a reddish brown.
Right.
And then you have other, yes. And then you have other brown shades that are more chocolate. And you're like, oh my God, let me eat it. It looks good.
It tastes good.
It seems like it can taste good. Let me try. And then you have other browns that are more towards greenish, bluish tones when you look at them. And then you have other brown. There's several browns out there. Brown is so important to test them. And I personally test them out. I'm a very, very, coming from the makeup industry, prior to being in the PMU industry, we hear you guys are probably most boys or guys watching this right now, but you probably heard about MAC. Have you ever heard of MAC?
Yes.
MAC Cosmetic. Who doesn't know MAC?
Yeah.
Right? And I remember when I first graduated in makeup, they told us, use MAC. This is this. MAC. Curious like I am and stubborn like I am, I'm like, no, I'm going to go test and try what's out there. I like to see what's out there. As an artist, you have to do that. Because if you do not do that and you don't do your own homework, then you're always going to go based on what people tell you to do and what people tell you that, oh, you should do this. Yeah, but what is good for you? Like, what is the information that are you always going to depend on what people tell you? Is it really the good information, or that's what they know? Maybe you might know better by practicing and trying them out, right? So to answer your question, brown is so important to try them out.
So now I understand let's go. We're gonna stay on brown for a little bit, right? But I want to go back to black real quick, right? So when we're testing out the black, right? For us to know that it's a good black to use, so let's say I got three black pigments in front of me and I do the swab test, right? I really want to be looking for the black that has the warmer tones, right? Or is there not? I feel like, and I don't want to confuse you because right
Yeah.
now I had questions for you, but the more I hear you talking, the more my mind, and we've already had these conversations. So the black, is there or is there not a right or wrong black pigment to use? And what I mean by that, let me elaborate. Let's say I have three pigments in front of me from reputable companies
Brands. Mm-hmm.
that have, they're doing legit, they're working with like legit formulators and, it's legit. It's not no rebottled shit, right? But black pigment number one, when I do the swab test, it appears to have the cool aura, right? Which is now like the undertones, right? Okay,
The bluish greenish tone.
got it, right? And I'm talking this is Barney style. This is also me right now, not only as like I'm interviewing you, but like I'm fully activating student mode right now, right? So now the next one that I do the swab test on it, and that one has a warmer tone on it. Kind of looks, it should be like
Orangey reddish.
orangey reddish was warm, right? And now the third one, what could it possibly be? Could it be like a more like an orange red where it's like too much or no?
Today, I want to talk to you about something crucial for your SMP business, where you get your tools. It's not just about having the right tools, it's about getting them from a source you can trust. And that's why I recommend Palms Fashion. Palms Fashion has been serving professionals since 1991, right here in the heart of New York City. As a family-run business, they've built a reputation for providing new and authentic products to licensed professionals around the world. And now, they're taking it a step further by offering scalp micropigmentation supplies so you can get everything you need in one place. They're an official distributor of the biggest names in the industry: Andis, Wall, Babyliss, Stylecraft, Ink You Care, and more. These are the brands we trust to deliver flawless results, and Palms Fashions ensures you're getting genuine products with full warranties, plus SMP supplies you need to keep your business running smoothly. Your tools and supplies are an investment in your craft and your success as an SMP artist. So don't just buy from anywhere. Trust the experts at Palms Fashion. Whether you're in New York City or shopping online at palmsfashioninc.com, they've got everything you need to take your business to the next level. Remember, trust the best, trust Palms Fashion.
That's a beautiful question you just asked. So in color, hold on. Can we admire my little
Look
pup?
at that.
Look
She's got
how
a Care Bear.
cute this is.
Which
It's
Care
so
Bear is
festive.
that? Which one is it? Because there's like 5 of them. I know that for a fact. You have
To be honest with you, I don't even know what that is. I just know it's a teddy bear. That's all that I care about. And that the coffee is inside, because I need coffee.
Is it good coffee?
Very good coffee. And you know what? My family laughs at me because they're like, you just love instant coffee so much, the Colombian one. I'm like, I love the taste.
Instant
It tastes like chocolate, but coffee.
Okay,
I
interesting.
have the machine. I don't even use my machine. This is the one I go for 24/7. Well, every day.
After when we're done, I'm gonna have to see what that's all about. But
It's so good.
let's just hope that the people that are listening are not gonna hold that against you, that you drink instant coffee, okay? That's kind of like a sin over here on this side. All right. Well, you know what? We're gonna let you slide because you're giving us some really good information that we need. So you can drink, you have all the instant coffee that you want. But
Okay, so
back
your
to the black,
question,
like with the different undertones.
beautiful question. So let's okay. So, we talk like we already know a lot, but some people might be newly certified artists. So if you are watching and you just got certified and you're like, what are you even talking about? What is color theory? First of all, what is undertone? What is warm? What is cool? Just to make that clear, warm means more reddish, more orangey. So remember, warm, the sun. So the sun has yellow, orange, the sunset, the sunrise, what we love.
Take me there.
Yeah, for
Sorry.
real. Anyways. Bye.
Sorry, guys. We're out of here. All right.
Cool. Remember, cold. When it's cool and cold outside, snow, blue, greenish, undertones. So warm tones means yellow, orangey, reddish tones. Cool tone means bluish, greenish tones. That's the only two things that you can have in colors. Okay. First of all,
For the black, there is no.
No, for everything, for every color.
Okay, so it's either cool or it's warm. There's no third option. Like, oh, this looks like.
Yes, there is. I was gonna come to that.
Okay. Make it more complicating.
Yes.
Ready.
So you asked me. So the first swipe, you're gonna see some bluish, greenish tone, which is called cool tones.
Cool tone.
The second swipe, you're going to see the reddish, orangey, yellowish tone, whatever. It's called warm tones. And then the third, you're like, what is it going to be? It's neutral.
What is
neutral? Neutral means you don't see any green. You don't see any blue undertone. You don't see any orange. You don't see any red. It's just the color itself that gets lighter. The more you swipe, the more it blends perfectly. And that's called neutral.
Got you. more stuff is formulating here. Okay, that's with the black. Now, with the brown, right? Which is even more important because brown has several colors in it that make it the brown. So when we do that test, the swipe, is it safe to call it the swipe test? I feel like doing like a COVID test or something. When you do the swipe test, that didn't look
back to COVID, man. No, I don't want to go back to that.
When you do the swipe test, hey, sir, stay right there, and then you swipe it right on the foot. All right. So when you do the swipe test with the brown, you're looking. The possibilities are a cool undertone,
always,
a warm undertone,
yes,
and a neutral undertone.
Always.
Those are the only three that you can have.
Always. Any color shades, but then
every color shades. And when you mean by shades, that's the undertone. Every single color has an undertone shade.
All of them. But then black, you see the bluish, greenish tone, the orangey, reddish tone, and the neutral. With brown, because it's already supposed to be a warm tone, but the undertone can be not warm when you swipe it. So that's something you have to understand because brown is supposed to warm your color. When you mix some brown into your black to create the perfect brown for your clients, it's supposed to give you the dream brown, right? But then there's some companies out there that have their black that is already cool toned, which means it's like a bluish, greenish tone that you have to mix and match to cut that down. And then their brown is very chocolatey brown that you look at it, you're like, wow. But then who has that now? No one is born with brown hair like that. So you're like, what am I supposed to do with these two shades? Should I use it by itself? Should I mix them? So again, when you choose a brand, there's some brands that thought ahead of us. When they mixed and they made sure they had their bottle made, it's pre-mixed. It's already neutralized. It's already there for you to take it, work on your clients. You don't need to question yourself more than you should. You know what I mean? It's like the bottle itself, just make sure you have the good ratio, the good mix.
The dilution ratio, right.
Dilution.
So when you say it's ready to work, you mean it just is ready for it to be diluted to...
Yes,
okay.
Yes, 100%. Yes.
Because I would have just took the brown and just started working had I not asked you that question.
Yeah. And that's... Sorry, and that's something you asked
say the same
me.
thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
You asked me a couple of weeks ago, you said, do you think I should take my brown? Let's say I have a Fitzpatrick, like someone that is a level 1 or 2. Should I take my brown and add some black on it and work on my client? I said, yes, that's the right thing to do. But remember, if you take, let's say, like a black sheet, and you try to draw a brown drawing over your black sheet, you're barely going to see it, right? But if you do the opposite, you take your brown sheet, you put some you take some black on it, then you see it more. So logically, you want to always start with
The brown, the lighter.
yes. Yes. You take your light shade, then gradually you add the darkest shade. You mix and match, you swipe, you test, you're happy, you're good, you test it on the skin, test it in the back, you're good to go for your procedure.
Got you. I have a scenario, right? So I have a client with red hair, light brown hair. I say, I'm going to be using brown. Now,
Yeah.
I come up with my dilution. Let's say he's a Fitzpatrick scale 2.
Yeah.
I come up with my dilution and I say, I go 20-1. 20-1 is still too light. Let's say I go all the way into a pure brown and the brown still appears too light for that client's to match, right? To get a match. Only then should I add black to it. Or could I do, that's the only time, right? So
yes.
I shouldn't, so let's backtrack now. Let me give you that same scenario again. So now let's say I do a 20-1.
Yeah.
A 20-1 ratio, and I realize, okay, this brown is still light. I shouldn't be adding the black then and there, right? I should just stay with the brown and go with a lower dilution ratio until I have a match. Only adding black if I'm using pure brown and it's still too light.
Exactly. And then one thing
we're
you have
done,
to
guys.
remember.
We don't need any more of this. I think we're good. I got everything that I needed, guys. We're gonna turn this off. We're gonna stop letting everyone else know.
I some coffee left.
Okay, I can appreciate that, and I hope that whoever is listening to this appreciates it just as much, because that was such a big misconception.
But one thing you have to remember also, because I think a lot of people maybe don't have the experience yet and you never really thought of it. Whatever color you choose, remember that it gets lighter when it heals, right? So whatever.
If done correctly.
Yes. Oh my God, that's another story.
Yeah. If properly executed. All right.
Yes.
But for instructional purposes only, we're talking to the professionals.
Yes.
So it's done correctly. Got it.
Exactly. So if you do the right thing, whatever color you chose is not supposed to change. It's supposed to get lighter and fade to its true color within the first month, right? So it gets light up to, let's say, 30 to like 40%, which is 100% normal. So don't think, and that's a mistake a lot of people do. Oh, you know what? Because I know it's going to get lighter. Let me go super dark so that once it gets lighter, it matches. No. Remember, you guys do 3 to even 4 sessions to each and every one. So to be safe again, and even if you think you're the queen and the king, you always want to play safe, because we're not talking about a drawing on a piece of paper. You're working on someone's scalp and you're literally playing on someone's head. So you want to make sure you always go, if you're not sure and you're like, is it too light? Is it too dark? Always go the safer side, go with the light one. And then correct yourself when they come back for the second session. Make sure you note whatever ratio you use, whatever color you use, whatever brand you used. Make sure you have noted on their file so that when they come back, you see what you did. And then you're like, you know what? I'd rather them to come back lighter than too dark, and there's nothing to do after, right?
Got you. Okay.
Yeah.
So to retract, I should not add black to the brown to intensify it unless it's the pure brown that it's still too light, right?
Exactly.
Got you. Okay, so now let's obviously still continuing on the same topic, but right now I'm going so off script right now because I'm processing this. Like I'm legit, like I have activated like student mode, and you would assume for as long as I've been doing this, this is something that I would have clear like insight on. But like you said too, you know, the whole brown and neutralizer thing, it's all new. And in the beginning, when I heard about it, I was like, well, I've been doing this with just carbon black for so long. Like, why am I reinventing the wheel? And then I'm asking my friends that have been doing it even longer than I have, and they're like, bro, we've been producing good results for 8 years, 10 years. Why try and reinvent the wheel? And then you go down this color theory rabbit hole, and
Yeah.
you you see and you actually listen to the science behind it, and it all makes sense, taking me back to when I was a art student, where it's like I've been saying this
Exactly
shit
that.
the
It's
whole
exactly
time.
that. Nothing
Yeah,
changed. It's
right.
just people try to change the words and the way of doing, but
Yeah,
color is color. Color theory is never going to
yeah,
change.
yeah.
The
And
wheel is never going to change. You will never see
yeah,
orange be next to blue. It goes to yellow, to darker yellow, to orange, to darker orange, to red, to dark red, to purple, to blue, to whatever, you know? You're not going to change that. So whatever you learned back in the days, you know, when we were little in elementary school, and they'll tell you, so how do you create green? How do you create blue? Logically, you know, what are the tones you have to use to create that? Nothing in this world is going to change that ever. So it's always the same base, the same whatever you learn is the right way. But you have to kind of like connect it to SMP now.
and that being said, I guess this is why it's also so crucial for you to do your research on who you decide you want to take your SMP training with, because I know not many of us have like are equipped with this knowledge of color theory where it's broken down to this extent, like what you're doing right now. There are a few, there are a handful, but even when I'm looking on social media or just regular videos, even on YouTube, and you see when they start teaching like the color theory portion,
Yeah.
color theory from what I've seen, and you know what, I'm probably gonna upset a couple of people here, and that's not my point. It's just to point out that, you know, I always felt it was being taught wrong, because for the most part, when you hear color theory, at least from a SMP perspective, the thought is mixing it, the ratios, you know, oh, what's you know, because they give you the scale, right? And in the scale it says if a person is Fitzpatrick 1 to 2, you're gonna do whatever 30 to 1 ratio, right? So it should be lighter. In theory it should be lighter, and then they sit you down and they go, well, let's show you how to achieve a 30 to 1. You're gonna take you know, a milliliter of pigment, put it into the cup. Now take 30 milliliters of water, put it into the cup. Congratulations. You now know how to dilute the pigment for a Fitzpatrick 1. And then the same thing gets repeated as you go
Yeah.
higher, obviously, less diluent being used. That is not necessarily, in fact, proper color theory understanding, right?
No.
Teaching.
No.
That's like the most entry level training you could possibly receive when it comes
That's just
to color
how
theory.
they want you to use their pigments. But let's say there's a fire in your office. God forbid it. You lose all of your pigments. Or those companies bankrupt. They don't exist anymore. What are you going to do? How are you going to understand pigments if you don't understand color theory? You know what I mean? There's some people, and that's another thing I want to talk about. In the PMU industry, so brows, lips, whatever, you see some people on their desk, they have 6 different brown shades to work on their clients, 6 different blonde shades, 6 different black shades. And then you're like, but wait, why? Why do you need so much? You know what I mean? Like, if you know your color ranges well, and if you know your color theory very well, you just need 2 colors. You mix and match. You know what I mean? And something we haven't spoke about, the neutralizer that a lot
Yeah.
of companies,
Get into the neutralizer. Absolutely.
yes, a lot of companies, they came with neutralizers now. And some companies, they thought ahead. They're like, you know what? Just to help you guys prevent mistakes. And for those of you that don't want to understand color theory, this is the way to go. But again, it's so important for you to do your research and to understand, what is a neutralizer? What is it? The word says it, neutralizer. It's supposed to cut down all the undertones you do not want to see, which means the blue, the red, the orange, and the green. That's when they use the neutralizer. But can I not use any neutralizer and just work with my black by itself? Yes, if you work with the right company, because there's some black that have so much cool tones in them that you have no choice to neutralize them. Can I use the brown by itself? Yes, if you have the right company that created the perfect brown shade. But then again, so why do we have neutralizers? Exactly for that reason. If the product itself, the base, the structure, the main products, which is the black and the brown, have weird undertones and they're weird by just looking at them, then neutralizers to make sure you don't have those undertones.
But even with a neutralizer, if not used correctly, because again, this is another um and I get asked this a lot, and I've been having so many DMs where they're like, bro, you have to bring on a PMU artist, like someone that knows their shit, because I've paid for 3, 4, 5 different classes and color theory stuff, and I'm hearing all different. Like no one is saying somewhat the same thing. Everybody has a different approach.
Yeah.
So when you say neutralizers, right? Everyone just automatically assumes this is going to give you the safe dilution, regardless
Yeah.
of how you use it. But correct me if I'm wrong, neutralizer
Yeah.
also itself is made up of several other colors. So if you add too much neutralizer, you could also be changing the whole overall color, no? Like making it cooler. And she left me. All right, so we're back. We had some technical difficulties over there in Connecticut. You know, I don't know. I think someone didn't pay their light bill, but it's okay because she's back. So let's get back to that last question. We were talking about the neutralizer, right? So the neutralizer itself also is made up of several other colors, and if you put too much neutralizer, what could you risk doing to the work? Like, what would it make it look like? Would it make it look cool? Would it make it look too warm? Like, what? Is there
Yes.
even an answer for that?
Yes, there is. So neutralizer is made to cut down the cool tones. So neutralizers are always warm based, which means they're either reddish or orangey or in between, okay? Neutralizers. So usually neutralizers have been created to use only with the black, okay? So let's say the
Okay,
company,
neutralizers is just to make sure I'm
yes,
understanding this correctly.
yes,
Neutralizer, in theory, is exclusive to be used with the black pigment, not with
yes,
brown.
Yes, usually yes,
Oh,
because it's the black that has the most cool tones in it, right? Black is like the king of blue greenish undertones. And if that company don't even have any brown in their color ranges, then they have maybe neutralizer and black only, so you can kind of mix together to create the brown or the natural black that you're looking for, the neutralized black.
got it. So would you ever neutralize brown?
I mean, you could. There's no specific law into it. But usually, again, like I said, if you have the good company, the right product, you're not supposed to need it. Because me, let's say I'm a brand and I created SMP company brands. I have my own pigments and I sell you all bunch of products and I want you to figure them out. And my goal should be to make your life easier, right?
Right.
So you're not supposed to think, oh, should I not? No, because the color itself, it's supposed to be pre-mixed, which means the undertones should be A1 already.
Got it. Well, Hazia, I appreciate you for one, wanting to come on the podcast with me and making some time for me because I know you're incredibly busy and you're traveling all these freaking countries because you're like every like 2 weeks you're at a PMU show being a like a celebrity judge or you're competing, which is absolutely amazing. And it just goes to show that you are the right person to be talking to us and educating us about this topic, color theory, because not only did I come at you as a host, but came as a student and I'm super enlightened, even still, even though I have access to you, off of here. So you have definitely brought a tremendous amount of value, not only to me, but I'm sure to the industry and, to today's interview. And I really appreciate that.
You're very welcome. It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. And this is just the beginning.
This is just the beginning. I don't know. This is just the beginning.
Yes,
This is a good.
it is.
This is a good just the beginning. But
It's a good way to end it.
we're gonna leave that for another time. And that
Yes.
being said, guys, that's gonna wrap it up for this episode of the Scalp Solutions Podcast. Until the next time, peace.
Thank you guys so much.